very good evening and welcome to the new session of Pre-Med Pro. Hope you all are doing well and have revised the chapters that I have taught. And today we will start from the DCT for our ongoing chapter, the human excretion, and we'll continue the next part of the DCT as well as the concentration of the urine. Okay, so today let's start with the DCT. DCT, it's a part of the nephron. DCT, the full form is the distal convoluted tubule, and it's a part of the human nephron. Okay, in the DCT I am drawing a structure because this type of cell generally comes in the Neet. What type of cell is there in the DCT? It's a part of a nephron. As earlier I have said that the collecting duct is not a part of the nephron because many nephron joins with a single collecting duct. Okay, so you cannot call collecting duct as the part of the nephron. Okay, in this case the DCT absorbs okay, here you can write in DCT the conditional reabsorption occurs. Conditional reabsorption under the influence of certain hormone, Okay, now what happens? The hormones are the ADH, that is the vasopressin, and another is the aldosterone. It is a mineralocorticoid. It's a steroidal hormone. Okay, so under the influence of the two hormones, that is the ADH and the vasopressin, the conditional reabsorption happens in the DCT. Okay, now the ADH full form is anti-diuretic hormone. Okay, now what happens? In ADH, it is a hormone of hypothalamus. Where it is stored? It is stored in posterior pituitary, also called neurohypophysis. It is also called neurohypophysis. Okay, now here in aldosterone, it's a hormone releasing from the adrenal cortex. Okay, here you can say it can permeate sodium, chlorine, bicarbonate, and conditional absorption of H2O. Okay, it's a conditional absorption of H2O. Now come to the next part, the ADH. Okay, let me draw a thing. Okay, now it is DCT. Okay, here acts on the ADH, the antidiuretic hormone, acts on conditional reabsorption of H2O. H2O is reabsorbed. Okay, when the body is under stress or under dehydration, ADH secretes to reabsorb water furthermore from the DCT. Okay, now aldosterone acts on DCT. Sodium is reabsorbed. Thus sodium ion is reabsorbed primarily. Okay, now here H2O reabsorbed, ADH acts on CD, that is the collecting duct. It is CD. Okay, H2O acts on the collecting duct. Now, in case of the diabetes insipidus, in case of diabetes insipidus, there is a deficiency of ADH. Here, deficiency of ADH. What happens? No water reabsorption from DCT and collecting duct. Okay, so what happens? Patient will pass dilute urine, that is diuresis. The terminology is called the diuresis. It is excessive loss of water via urine. This is called the diuresis. Okay, now what happens? It is a collecting duct. Okay, so the ADH here, or vasopressin, it contracts the blood constrict vessel. It's the vasoconstrictor. That's called a vasoconstrictor. Okay, so thus BP goes higher. Okay, now in case of septic shocks patient, we generally use dopamine, okay, or dobutamine. It also acts as a vasoconstrictor and increases the blood pressure, increases the cardiac output in a septic shock patient. Okay, now the collecting duct, termed as collecting duct, give the heading as collecting duct. Or CD. Okay, in collecting duct, okay, let me draw basic structure. It is the ascending loop of Henle, and here urea is reabsorbed. Okay, now here movement of the particles. Here water okay, now what happens? Amount of urea, small amount of urea is reabsorbed. That is, a small amount of urea is reabsorbed. Now what happens? Simple cuboidal, a large amount of water reabsorption and some amount of urea is reabsorbed. So here some is retained in the space oblique interstitium. Some goes back to ALOH, ascending loop of Henle. Now, note, take it as a note. Bowman's capsule, initial filtrate, 30 milliosmol per ml. Not in Bowman's capsule, initial filtrate. Okay, initial filtrate, let it be 30 milliosmol, and collecting duct, urine is osmolarity is 1200 millismol per milliliter. Okay, now what happens? 300 milliosmol goes to 1200 millismol per milliliter. Okay, urine gets 4 times concentrated from 300 to 1200. So urine gets 4 times concentrated here. Urine gets 4 times concentrated. Okay. Now we generally pass 1 to 1.5 liter of urine per day, which means 99% filtrate gets reabsorbed. Okay, so 99% of the filtrate gets reabsorbed. Now, in the some important points. Let some important points are descending loop of Henle. Water is reabsorbed. Water reabsorbed. Ascending here, ascending loop of Henle, NaCl, descending here. Okay. Now the next topic, mechanism of concentration of urine. Okay, the mechanism of concentration of urine. Give the topic, mechanism of concentration of urine. Okay, the mechanism of concentration of urine. What happens? See, understand this thing. Okay, it is also called the counter current mechanism. So, counter current mechanism is possible due to the close proximity between the loop of Henle, and the vasa recta. So, the counter current mechanism is generally possible because the close proximity of the loop of Henle and the vasa recta both goes in the opposite direction, but in a close proximity. Okay, so you can write the counter current mechanism is possible because of the close proximity between the LOH and vasa recta. Okay. Now the counter means opposite. Counter here means opposite. Current means flow. So the opposite flow is formed between both limbs of loop of Henle, 2 both limbs of vasa recta, 3 the filtrate in descending loop of Henle and blood of ascending vasa recta, filtrate in the ascending loop of Henle and the blood descending from the vasa recta. Okay, got it. The next comes here cortex. The cortex. Okay. In cortex, here H2O, 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 downward arrow H2O, sodium chloride, okay, wait. We need to draw once again because to draw the counter current mechanism now. Let's see here. Here another one is here. Here H2O, H2O, H2O. This is the ascending vasa recta and this is the descending vasa recta. Okay, here NaCl, NaCl, NaCl 300 millimole. Okay, here ascending NaCl. Okay, so NaCl is reabsorbed and here the concentration of the urine becomes 1200. So the urine is getting concentrated from 300 to 1200. So a 4 times concentration of urine is generally generated. Okay, here you can say that in the cortex the osmolarity 600, then 900, then 1200. In the inner medulla to nephron. Okay, there is the medullary interstitium. Okay, now come to the next part is the tubular secretion. It's a tubular secretion. Tubular secretion. Okay. It's an active process. It's an active process. And to maintain acid base balance. On the PCT, NH3 and hydrogen ion as per the new NCERT. Okay. Now in the DCT, absorption of ammonia, hydrogen ion and potassium. Okay. In the collecting duct, it's a very important part. Here the question comes from every year. From this topic, from this part, the question comes every year. Okay. Collecting duct absorbs water and potassium. So in case of if you draw a nephron like this, I'm drawing a simple structure just to make a note once again. Okay, here it is potassium, here it is glucose, ammonia, amino acids, reabsorption happening in the PCT, descending loop, sodium, nutrients. Why? This happens via active absorption. Okay. Now here chlorine, bicarbonates, urea, water, all absorbed by passive. Okay. In the loop of Henle, reabsorption of, in the descending loop of Henle, reabsorption of water happens. Okay. Here now in the active reabsorption, in the ascending loop of Henle, sodium and chlorine. Here in the descending loop, it's passive. Sorry, in the ascending loop, and here in the DCT, reabsorption of sodium is in active process. Because okay, now here in the DCT part, NaCl, H2O, bicarbonates are absorbed under certain hormonal activities. Okay, now here reabsorption of water, H plus potassium and ammonium ions. Now in the collecting duct, water is reabsorbed if required, and small amount of urea. Okay, this is a basic diagram of reabsorption. Okay, this is a basic diagram of reabsorption. Okay, now come to the next part. Okay, I think up to this you can stop here, because the concentration of urine is perfectly completed, and I think no further question will come except from these topics. Okay, so in the next video we'll continue after this part, and we'll end up with some kidney disease and with renal transplantation. Okay, so till then, good night. Probably in few days the registration of the Neet will start, and so wish you all the best and wait for the next video. Till then, good night.